JB Studios here. First and foremost, I want to address the inevitable comments that I will likely receive for making a review with the opinions I have about this game. No, I am not an Xbox fanboy. In fact, I think I have an Xbox 360 somewhere up in my closet. I think. I've been playing PlayStation since the day they announced Spider-Man PS4 in 2016. All the gameplay that you see here, or at least most of it, is from my own console. So, no, I'm not some salty Xbox fanboy. I like PlayStation. I love The Last of Us. I loved The Last of Us. And I loved Insomniac Spider-Man at one time. Still do, the first one. Also, this is my opinion. It is not yours. It is completely fine to have different opinions. If you love the game and it's the greatest thing that you've ever experienced, I'm happy for you. I'm so glad you got a video game that made you feel joy. It did not give me joy. That does not mean that your joy is wrong or should be somehow diminished. If listening to a review about a game you love upsets you, don't listen to it. These are just my takeaways, my opinions, my experience. So, with all that being said, here's the review. Marvel Spider-Man 2. I don't really have a specific way that I want to go about this. This is kind of just a ramble or a rant. But I do have some talking points. So, Marvel Spider-Man 2. Graphics. Let's start off with some good. I think that the game has its moments of looking absolutely beautiful. Specifically when the weather is a little more like rainy, stormy. Reflections seem to be good. The ray tracing looks nice. I want to give credit where credit is due, and I think that they did a good job with their graphics. Lighting and textures, I do think look decent at times. I do think there's also moments where it does look downright bad. I've seen moments in this game where it just didn't look right on the faces, the shading, and character models I think are absolutely atrocious. MJ, oh my goodness. Why do they hate MJ? Why do they hate this character? And I'm not even getting into her specific character yet, but the way she looks. What were you thinking with this? And I think it's such a punch in the gut to the character, who originally was a supermodel and actress. Obviously, beauty is subjective, but come on. I'm sorry, this girl looks nothing like Mary Jane. And then we got Peter Parker. Oh boy, the face controversy surrounding Peter Parker. I was not one who hated the change when it happened. In fact, I actually never was a big fan of the original face. I didn't love the new face either, but because I didn't have really a connection to the old face, I didn't really care. Now I'm kind of starting to see why I think they did it for real. And if it's true, it's pretty aggravating. I don't know if it's true, but I think it could be. Especially in this sequel, Peter looks like such a soy boy. I don't know, what's another term? He looks so weakling and nerdy and doofus and simpy, which is really playing into how they're writing his character. And I'm wondering, are you doing this just to demasculinize, if that's a word, Peter Parker? I don't get why they would do that, other than they want to severely push him to the side, which I think they're trying to do, unfortunately. But we're going to get more into that stuff later. But Peter, to me, and no diss to Michael Cera, but he usually he's usually cast as those kinds of characters. He looks like Michael Cera to me.
I respect you people. I respect the crew. I respect you, Max, but you're amateurs.
Again, you might love it, and that is perfectly fine. I simply don't. I think he looks atrocious. Those are my main two gripes with the character models. Harry also, I think, looks pretty bad. Miles looks alright. At least he looks like the actor. Like, he looks like Najee Jeter. I don't know, they look like the Sims to me. It's just, they look so basic. I don't know what it is. I just don't care for it. Gameplay. I think gameplay is a huge improvement from the first game, which is saying something because the gameplay in the first was so great. Obviously, it's very hand-holdy. It is insanely, like, let's just play through a movie kind of style video game, which is a lot of the Sony stuff. And I don't mind it, especially when it was like first introduced and you'd see it like in the Uncharted games, you know, or the Last of Us. I thought it was, wow, what a cool way to really engage the player in the plot. I loved it. It's getting a little irritating to me. I'm missing video games where you're just literally playing a video game, because that's what we're supposed to be doing in the first place. But I get it. They have a narrative. They want to express it. They want you to really be immersed in it in the best way possible. You know, and they want you to feel like Spider-Man with ease. And they even do address the whole hand-holdiness, because they have settings, which I appreciate this. They have settings in the, you know, in the options menu where you can actually adjust things. So that's cool. You know, I'm not gonna take points away for making it easy. And they didn't have to give the option to make it more challenging. So that's good on them. Traversal is a blast. I gotta say, I think Marvel Spider-Man 2 has the best traversal in any video game I've ever experienced. Web swinging, you know, and then seamlessly transitioning into web wings is absolutely, you know, it's a blast. I love playing it. It's really fun. Combat is super easy but very fun, really user friendly. Animations look great. So all that's a good time. I enjoy all that. Fast travel is like nothing I've ever seen before. It's literally a technical marvel. I keep hearing people say the power of the PS5. This must be it, because seeing fast travel like that, to me, I've never seen something like that. So that is, you know, nothing but applause for me. I think it's fantastic. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on gameplay. I think it's really good. So, you know, I'm giving like ratings to each section here, I think. So graphics, I think I would put probably at like a 6.57 out of 10. Gameplay, 9.5 out of 10, easy. But now let's get into the story. Alright, this is where everyone's gonna hate me. Story, oh my gosh, and please don't say that I'm not a Spider-Man fan or something like that. I'm just a different Spider-Man fan. I'm a major Spider-Man fan, okay? We might like different things about the character, different aspects, and different interpretations and adaptations, but I spent an entire year of my life dedicated to making a over 2-hour-long fan film of Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. Peter Parker is the most important fictional character to me of all time. I absolutely love Peter and his shared universe of interesting, diverse, and creative characters. And I personally feel this is one of the worst adaptations of these characters, worst representations of these characters that I have ever witnessed in media. It might be the worst for me. You may love it, that's great, I'm happy for you, but for me, man, it was laughably bad. I was playing through this game thinking to myself, who are these characters? I don't know anyone here. That is not how Peter acts. That's not how he thinks. Now, and I'm not talking about when he's corrupted by the black suit. Obviously, Peter always acts differently when they go with the storyline where he gets corrupted. I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about Peter outside of the black suit, dealing with things, like right from the get-go. I'm sitting there watching him fumble about as this dorky teacher, because we gotta make, you know, Peter can't have any style. He's gotta be a loser. He's gotta be terrible with, you know, just because we've had like one interpretation of him like that in the comics, so he must be that way. When in reality, he was actually very smooth and very clever and very confident and a little full of himself. But I digress. So he's fumbling around as this dorky teacher. And then Miles sees that Sandman is coming. And Miles goes to Peter. And obviously Peter is dedicated to wanting to have a job. He wants to do a good job. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with Peter wanting to have that issue. But when Miles says to him, I need your help. Peter... You know, and I'll give them credit here, so I'll try my best to just, let's assume Peter didn't know that Miles was talking about something Spider-Man related. But I think he did. Because I don't think he's stupid. He's a genius, in fact. And his shrug off of responsibility, because he wanted to tend to things in his Peter Parker life, is not Spider-Man. Are you sure this isn't something you can handle yourself, Miles?
I need your help. Are you sure this isn't something you can handle yourself?
No. That is not what Peter would say. I'm sorry, it's not what he would say. Not the one I grew up reading. Not the one I grew up loving and idolizing and being inspired by. That's not Peter Parker. And there are so many other moments throughout this game where he's like that. He seems so eager and just, he wants to get rid of Spider-Man. He's like, oh God. He already had a little bit of that in the first game, where he was like so obsessed and happy to be working on, you know, a solution to people losing limbs. that he even started to make it sound like it was more important than his responsibility as Spider-Man, and I don't like that. It's not who Peter is. Peter's whole thing is he can't look the other way. That's his character. He just can't do it. And it's a great character trait, because yes, it absolutely comes with cost, and it comes with pain and sorrow, but it also comes with great reward, and that's what I admire about Spider-Man. It's what I admire about Peter, because he doesn't give up. He's just a guy who doesn't give up. That's what Miles' dad said. That's what a hero is, right? Well, Peter wants to give up. Like, this entire game, he's complaining about everything. He's whining about everything. And he sucks, man. Like, there are moments. Now, granted, there are moments where Peter takes charge and actually showcases what he's capable of. And I love those moments. And at those moments, I was like, there you are, Peter. I was actually happy and excited to see him. There you are, Peter.
Oh, there you are, Peter.
But there were so many moments where I'm like, dude, shut up. Put your mask on and do your work. Stop complaining about being Spider-Man. This isn't you. This is not who you are. You believe in with great power comes great responsibility, and this version doesn't seem to. He's so eager to just throw the mantle to Miles.
Why would the city need me when it has you?
Dude, that's not what Spider-Man would do. Because, A, you're putting Miles in jeopardy. So if Miles dies, that's on you, Pete. You know that. You know the domino effect of being Spider-Man. So that's your fault if the kid dies or gets mortally wounded or whatever, which probably won't happen because we'll get into Miles, but Miles is flawless. He cannot make a mistake. I think there was like one moment where he actually starts to get like a little invested in Lee, and people are starting to get in danger. And I was like, oh, finally, they're giving something to Miles. Like, he's actually gonna have a character flaw. But nope, immediately overcomes it, and Peter doesn't even like lecture him on it or anything. And Miles, completely overcomes his issue, within one tiny little arc. He's a character they do not want to flesh out. They just want to make him awesome and unbeatable. And dude, thank God for Miles in this game, because if it wasn't for Miles, Peter would be in some deep crap. Miles saves this dude like 6 times because Peter is so incompetent. They make Peter, it's a Sandman fight. Sandman is like one of his C-list baby villains. Yes, he can turn giant and control weather to a degree and all that stuff, but this is Spider-Man, dude. Spider-Man he's amazing. He can pull off stuff that others can't. And we get a sequence where Peter is just like taken through the air and he's screaming like a little sissy. It's embarrassing. It's so, like, what the heck? Why are you making Peter suck? So many times in this game, he gets knocked around and knocked out with things that shouldn't have hurt him. In the first game, he took on the Sinister Six alone with 14 broken bones. Yes, he had his moments where he was taken down, but for the most part, he was incredible. He was Spider-Man. He had the ability to do things. In this game, they nerf him so bad, and I feel like it's just to uphold Miles and uphold Mary Jane. Which is dumb, because you can make Miles and Mary Jane great characters without having to take away from Peter. Just make them all good. Find the balance. Goodness gracious. Oh man, but other moments of the story, Kraven is just a plot piece. Like, they turned this dude into just a way to move the story forward. His motivation seems kind of cool, and I think it's in character, but he's kind of meaningless. And once he's gone, it's like, oh yeah, Kraven was in this game. That's how it feels. When honestly, we should have been playing as Kraven. There's a moment where he kills Scorpion. It's like, why wasn't that a boss fight? Let's play as Kraven to fight Scorpion. We also find out that he ends up, he kills Vulture, he kills Shocker, he kills Rhino. Let's do those boss fights. Playing as Kraven would be a blast. But no, we gotta play as Mary Jane. Because Mary Jane is just awesome. Mary Jane is where it's at, despite all of the backlash. That people don't want Mary Jane missions. Nope, we're going to do them again, and she's going to be the most OP character in the game. She can literally one-shot everybody.
Training with Sable paid off sooner than I'd hoped.
You serious?
With this amazing taser she has, which begs the question, why isn't Miles and Peter using this taser? Because I gotta admit, like, on hard mode, villains in this game are kind of spongy, especially if you haven't fully upgraded your skill tree. They take a while to take out. Now, if you're MJ, you can 1 to 3 shot him with your little taser. Well, sounds to me like Peter and Miles need that taser. I was audibly groaning and laughing like crazy throughout this game. Oh my gosh, and then when Mary Jane turns into Scream and starts like just shouting at Peter how bad of a boyfriend he is. Yeah, you left the toilet seat up!
MJ, just talk to me!
I'm done talking! Done begging for validation from you, from anyone!
Validation? If this is about your job!
It's about me! Hey! Not my job or this stupid house! And for once, not about you! I'm in complete control!
You serious?
It's like that kind of petty stuff. And then Peter is fighting her. And he's beating the crap out of her and, but also getting the crap kicked out of him because, we can't let him beat her. She has to be the one to win because she's better than him. And everything. And she does. She beats Peter, essentially. And then she's the one that realizes, oh my gosh, I've got to take the symbiote off. And she saves herself because, we can't have a damsel in distress Mary Jane. That's overplayed and outdated. She's so unsupportive of Peter and his decision. She's like, you only care about Spider-Man, which is not even true because this Peter doesn't want to be Spider-Man. So I'm sitting there listening to Mary Jane complain. I'm like, what are you talking about? Peter doesn't want to be Spider-Man. He wants to give it to Miles. He's like, oh, you kid, you go do it. It's not my responsibility anymore. It's not my code. It's not my curse. I don't care. You do it, man. You go put yourself in danger and die. It's so, every character is so out of character. In the comics, Mary Jane was so supportive. She understood Peter. She loved him for what he did. She loved his commitment. Yes, absolutely, she had her moments where it was difficult, but she still knew what she was getting herself into when she was marrying Spider-Man. Oh, she was such a great character. But now she's got to be Lara Croft. And she is, man. She's Lara Croft, or is it Redfield from Resident Evil? She's going through these symbiote mines or nests or whatever, and one-shotting these symbiotes that are totally kicking Peter and Miles' butt.
You gotta be kidding me. Hey, I think that hurt it.
You serious?
Let's talk about the MJ missions a little bit.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Because you made her like the most OP character in the game. Let's just get it out there.
She's OP.
One shot everybody.
She's OP. I knew that those missions weren't the fan favorites coming out of Spider-Man 1. We knew we had to make her more of a proactive, capable person. And if she's a little OP, I don't give a shit. It's important to have her be a capable hero. This might sound cliche or whatever, cheesy, but you don't need to have powers to be a hero. In the original plan, she wasn't a playable character in the last mission, but we thought, hey, can we get all three of them working as a team in that final mission? So at the very end, she's there. But yeah, she's OP. She's probably OP. I don't care.
Oh my gosh, the amount of laughter I had from playing this game. And the first game had some of this craziness too. I vastly overlooked a lot of it just because I loved so much of what that game was doing. It's like some of it didn't age well for me, and I still mock it to this day, but they doubled down so hard on the first game's imperfections. Oh my gosh, and the story is so out of balance, man. You know how in the first game we have this cool set piece of Spider-Man, then we slow things down a little bit, and then we check in with Peter, so this is what's going on in his life, this is his personal life, this is cool. Okay, and then back into the action. Not in this game. In this game, we have two Spider-Men. So we've got to make sure that we do a big set piece, and then a massive breakdown for Peter, and then a massive boring breakdown for Miles, until we finally get back into the action again. And Miles' missions, by the way, are so boring. Dude, we don't even play as him. It's like, oh, look, time to switch to the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, the one that's going to be replacing the mainline Spider-Man. Obviously, it's what they're heading with this. Hopefully they don't do it, but that's what seems to be what they want to do, despite the fact that Peter is the one that has the numbers by far. Miles is a spider drone. Miles is doing DJ work. Oh my gosh, I was laughing so hard when these missions were coming on because I was like, holy cow, man. And I felt bad. I really did. Like, for 2 years, I've been suggesting in comment sections and in different conversations that this was going to be Peter Parker's sequel. It was going to be centric on him. It was going to be focused on him. And people were ripping my head off for it. They're like, no, it's equal, 50-50 split. Miles is going to be just as pivotal and just as important as Peter. And I was right, but I didn't know how right I was. Miles is barely in this game. Like, he does have key moments, absolutely. And towards the third act, he definitely shows up and he has his big moments. You know, mostly just to save Peter because Peter sucks in this game. But Miles is like has almost nothing to do in the main story. It is nowhere near a 50-50 split. It's like a 90-10. You know, and then in the open world, you have more stuff to do with Miles. But oh my gosh, I feel bad for Miles fans. You know, you guys are obviously going to be getting a sequel, especially with how this game ends with Peter quitting, which he doesn't quit. He, like, immediately comes back into the open world and goes, oh, break time's over.
Break time's over.
So he doesn't even really quit. I guess it's just supposed to be like a glorified hiatus because he's trying to find balance with, you know, between Spider-Man and Peter, which I really hope they eventually nail down. We get to a point where we get to see Peter with MJ, hopefully with Mayday or Benjamin or Peter Jr., whatever they're going to do, and they want to do a situation where Peter perfectly balances the life of Spider-Man and the happy life of Peter. That's what Spider-Man fans have wanted to see for so long. I really, really, really hope we come to that, but I just don't think that's where we're going. I feel like it's going to be a situation where they want to get rid of Peter and make Miles the main timeline Spider-Man within Insomniac's universe, which really sucks because they're doing Wolverine, and they're probably going to do other characters, other heroes, you know, and different spin-off games, and they'll do like some big Infinity War. It's like, oh wow, look at that, we've got Captain America, we've got Wolverine, we've got Hulk, we've got all these great superheroes all in one thing. Where's Spider-Man? Oh, there he is, it's Miles. And Peter's not a part of that. I mean, that's going to suck, you know, and I think a lot of people would really dislike that. I don't care if Miles is there, but he shouldn't be taking Peter's spotlight. Peter is Spider-Man. I mean, I'm sorry, yes, Miles Morales is also called Spider-Man, but Peter is Spider-Man. You know, he is the character that comes to mind when people think Spider-Man. He is the character that made the name something to be earned. He is the name, you know, the one that made people want the name anyway. Spider-Man wasn't anything until Peter did something with it. He came up with it and inspired the world. So, I really don't want them to get rid of Peter. I'm completely fine with Miles hanging out and being part of this and working alongside him, you know, whatever. But don't do it at the expense of Peter. That's why so many people dislike Miles, is because it always comes at the expense of Peter. He's either got to die or retire, and a lot of Parker fans are just sick of it. If you're going to make us choose between Miles and Peter, we're obviously going to choose Peter. Don't make us choose. Just make us have two great characters. Allow us to have two great characters that we can engage with. Don't get rid of Peter. Anyway, there's a little Peter Parker rant within this rant. But also, Venom, man, it's Harry, which, I mean, was the most obvious choice and why this game is so stinking predictable. But because Eddie Brock isn't in this, Venom isn't in this. Yes, he's called Venom, he looks like Venom, but dude, his motivations are gone. His personality is gone. This is not Venom. This dude is running around. You got all the monstrosity, because everybody loves the monster aspect of Venom where he's just running around eating people. That's not really who Venom is. You know, Venom has those moments, absolutely, but Venom has a personality. You know, he actually has motivation. He doesn't want to infect the world with symbiotes. In fact, the Venom symbiote was against that. The Venom symbiote wanted to be within symbiosis. He didn't want to be a parasite. That's why he was banished from his planet. This is more like Riot or Carnage. You know, they're actually evil. They want to feed on the world. And that wasn't Venom. Venom was never like that. Venom just hated Peter. He wasn't really a bad guy. He was a dude that had enough crap. He had the beautiful, basically like the culmination of things where Eddie was screwed over so badly by Peter because Peter was being affected by the symbiote, and then the symbiote gets forced out of Peter's life because Peter makes the change, and then that hatred of the symbiote and Eddie come together to become Venom. They're like a poison to Peter. They have all of his abilities. They know who Spider-Man is. They know all of his secrets. He's the bane of Spider-Man. That's why he's called Venom. And that entire incredible story is gone by taking Eddie Brock out of it. And we're left with a very rushed, scrapped together, my best friend turned evil plot. And it's not even earned. Like, because of the Miles inclusion, which again was very small, but I still think too much because it took so much away from the relationship dynamic of Peter and Harry. They're trying to push this, like, well, we wanted it to be Harry because we wanted it to be more emotional. Okay, but it wasn't. You didn't have any real build-up for this. It does not feel earned to me. You may think so, but I don't. I really don't. It seems so out of left field, and they changed the symbiote so much where it actually corrupts your mind rather than just makes you do what you actually want to do. You know, So much was changed to make this plot happen. And it's unfortunate because I think the charm and the depth of these characters and these stories suffered for it. Because they just weren't there. You know, and again, this is my opinion. You may be hearing every word that I'm saying and think, wow, this dude is out of his mind. I think this was the most comic accurate version I've ever seen. If that's your interpretation of the comics, then dude, good for you. I'm glad you enjoyed the game. These are just my thoughts. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. And to me, this is not who these characters are. You know? And of course, Peter quitting at the end is so out of character. Obviously, he's taken breaks in the comics. We've had the Spider-Man No More story. We've had the situation in the Clone Saga where he handed the mantle off to Ben Reilly. But those stories all end in Peter learning a lesson. So all is not lost. If the third game makes this a big thing where it's like, it's a lesson for Peter and Miles either dies or gets mortally wounded or whatever because of Carnage and Green Goblin and Doc Ock coming. All of that stuff, if that's what's going to happen, then, you know, fine. I still think that a lot of the stuff that happens in this game is completely out of character and unnecessary, but at least it's going to end good. I'm hoping for that, but I really don't believe we're going to get that. In fact, my theory is... So, another character that's incredibly out of character is Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn never cared about Harry. But they're making this the motivation for him to become the Green Goblin as he wants vengeance on Peter for something Peter didn't even do. And he knows this. He knows his son had turned into a mindless monster, and he himself tells Peter to go after Harry. But we gotta do the cliche I need revenge plot, and revenge is bad plot, and all that stuff. Unless we come to find out that all of this has been a huge act and facade, and Norman Osborn actually is the narcissistic evil monster that we cannot identify with. Because that's what's so scary about Goblin. He's the one character within the Spider-Man mythos that we can't identify with. We cannot have empathy because he is actually pure evil. But they're giving him relatability in this, which makes him far less threatening to me. Far less menacing. You may disagree, you may like the personal touch. I don't. I think he's far scarier when he is just a character that you cannot relate to. You're like, wow, this is heinous. How could you be this way? But I digress. That's how I feel. You don't have to. But anyway, where I think this is going, because he now has come to Octavius and says, you know who the Spider-Man are, which Octavius doesn't. He only knows who Peter is. I don't know why he assumes he knows who Miles is. I don't even know how he knows who Peter is, but whatever. So Ock knows, and he says, I'm writing the final chapter. That could obviously be a reference to the issue 33, Amazing Spider-Man book, where he lifts the rubble off of him, which I hope we get an in-game version of that. I think that'd be really cool. It could be a reference to the death of Spider-Man. Unfortunately, I think that's what's going to end up happening. I think what they're going to end up trying to do is they're going to do something really, really crazy, super cringy in my mind, but they're going to make Octavius take control of Peter's body for the final fight or for the majority of the game or whatever. And Peter's goal, or Octavius' goal is, because he has the failing body anyway, is he wants to get in Peter's body and use Peter's body to kill Norman. So that Norman dies and Peter dies, and he gets vengeance on both of his adversaries. That's where I think they're taking this. Which would suck. I really hope I'm wrong, but I feel like these people are crazy enough to do something stupid like that. That will be bigger and more hated than the Joel death. Mark my words if they do something like that. Oh boy, the backlash. But we'll see how it goes. I don't know, man. I'm trying not to be negative, but it's so hard not to be. Let me see. What else did I want to talk about? So yeah, the story for me is, it's like a 4.5 out of 10, man. That's where I'm at for that, unfortunately. Side missions. Oh my gosh. Okay, so side missions are mostly trash in my opinion. There are some really good ones. But man, oh man, has Insomniac painted themselves into a corner. Now, I want to preface all of this that I'm about to say with this. I am not a political person. I do not subscribe to either side. I am not an individual who engages in that kind of content. It's not who I am. It's not what I believe in. But I do know that there is a culture war going on. And I know that this game is very one-sided in terms of politics. Which is fine, man. You can believe what you want. And you can even put stuff into your story where you make parallels and you tell compelling human stories that we can relate to because things are happening in real life. I understand all of that. But when it comes across as preachy and holier than thou, that's when people get upset. And this game absolutely does. And what's worse is not only are they so holier than thou, I'm so much better than you, I'm your savior. That's their attitude. They are 100% willing to remove all of it so that they can make and sell copies in countries that aren't okay with that kind of content. So, before you think that Insomniac are actually heartfelt, caring activists trying to change the world, ask yourself the question, why are they willing to remove all of it to make a dirty dollar? It's pandering at the best. They're pandering to the West, they're pandering to the East. It's all fake. It's for the scores. Because that stuff is popular right now. And maybe they do genuinely feel that way to a degree, but not well enough to where they would actually stand up and say, sorry guys, we don't agree with your country's viewpoints. We think that your viewpoints are bigoted and oppressive, so we're not going to sell this stuff to you. They could say that, but they'd lose money, and that's what they won't do. So there are versions of this game out there that does not have any of that stuff in it. None of the identity politics or what they call woke stuff or whatever. Like I said, I am not political. This is just, I've seen the controversy, I've seen the backlash, and what I am specifically spotlighting is the fact that these things are obviously not genuinely in their hearts because they're willing to actually just throw it all away for money. So I'm calling hypocrisy there, especially because I think there was a modder that got banned for changing a flag, and then they do the exact same thing to make money. So that's up to you how you feel about that. Personally, I don't care. I've got no dog in that fight. I just find it ironic. That's it. Speaking of flags, they really messed up with that, with Miles. It goes to show you they really don't care about this stuff if they can't pay attention to detail, man. I mean, they put the Cuban flag in a Puerto Rican kid's house.
You serious?
Now, half of my family is Cuban. I've been to Cuba. I know the Cuban people very well. And they are not a group of people that like to be mistaken. No group does, obviously, but, I mean, my son is half Cuban. I am deeply invested in their culture. It is part of my day-to-day life, and my goodness, when my wife saw that they did this, boy, did she have a fit. So, these are not the people you want to piss off. And then they go a step further and they degender the entire Spanish language, which people of the Spanish community, the vast majority, have said they do not like. So, again, it's this holier-than-thou whitewashing of culture that I think is insanely hilarious to see play out. So I've seen a lot of backlash for that. That never helps the controversy behind a game. But like I said, I've got no dog in that fight. I'm just speaking to it because it's been such a big, hot topic. But that's kind of where I'm at, man, with this game. I'm hoping for the future we do not end with Peter Parker being killed, replaced, or retiring. I hope it ends with Peter learning a big lesson. Maybe even the death of Mary Jane. At this point, I don't care if she dies. I don't think Miles should die. I think Miles should absolutely stick around and be a hero in the universe. I think the two of them can work together. But I want to see a shared Insomniac gaming universe because I've seen what they can do with gameplay, and I think it could be a lot of fun. I've seen what they can do narratively. To me, this one was a dropping of the ball. If you guys loved it, I'm happy for you. I personally didn't. But that's just where I'm at. You absolutely do not have to agree at all. It's perfectly fine. These are just my thoughts. I'm hoping for the best, but right now, in Insomniac, I don't trust. So, unfortunately, that's where I'm at. 4.5 out of 10. Yeah, man. I hate to say that. I love Spider-Man. I loved the first game. But that's kind of where I'm at. So, anyway. What did you guys think?